All right. Hey, guys, and welcome back to the Pop Podcast. I am your host, Erin Groves, and I hope everyone had a fabulous weekend. We are back another episode and another guest. I had prefaced her on my stories, and I'm so excited because personal finance and finance is a world I've just started beginning to be familiar with over the last few years. And if there's one person that has passion and drive for personal finance, it's Katie. So I am so excited to have the founder of her blog, Money with Katie, on the podcast. Say hello.
Thanks, Erin. That's really sweet. I love it.
You can just tell that it's something that lights you up. And I know you've talked about this on your Instagram stories, and this is something that I've talked about a lot. There's a lot of people, and this is something that I always want my audience to take away, that want something else outside of what they're doing. They want to chase after that thing that they're passionate about, that thing that really lights them on fire. For some people, the corporate world is it's everything they've ever dreamed of. And there's a large group of people that it's not, and they want to go after that thing that they're passionate about. And you found that in personal finance. So I like to start off my episodes and just have you introduce yourself a little bit, give people background on where you started and where you are today. And we'll take that a step further.
Okay, cool. So I started working in marketing, actually, and I liked it. And I really liked the company that I worked for. But that exact feeling that you're describing of being like, oh, I kind of just, something's missing and I don't quite know what it is, but like this job that I was so excited about doesn't quite give me the fulfillment that I thought it was going to give me. And I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. It's so unnerving when you feel that way about a good job, because you have that sense of like, is there something wrong with me? Like, or am I just ungrateful that I'm not getting everything that I should be out of this job that so many people would be so thankful for? And so I kind of had that gnawing feeling for a while, probably, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, that I just kind of sat on and I explored other things to try to, hey, like, is fitness my thing? Am I supposed to be doing this? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? That like existential question of what's going to give me that feeling of fulfillment and enthusiasm and whatever. So yeah, it took about 3 years, I think, for me to really realize and put 2 and 2 together that like, well, you are really interested in money and personal finance, and you do want to talk about it all the time and like teach other people about it. And, you know, that you like to write. So why don't you just, send it, just start writing about personal finance on the internet and see what happens. And that was in, April 2020, when we were work from home and the studios had shut down. So I had more time on my hands and was still working at the same company, kind of doing the same thing. But I kind of told myself like, hey, I'm just going to give this a year. Like if I write 2 articles a week for 12 months and no one gives a shit, then I will try something else. Or like, if I do it for a year and no one cares and I hate it, then like, okay, permission granted to try something different. But I just had that hunch that like it was going to work. And I don't know why I felt that way. And maybe that's just like my hindsight bias of like knowing that it worked now, but there was just a weird gut instinct thing of like, I don't know, I just feel like this is going to be a thing. And it fortunately did not take a year for it to really pick up some momentum. It probably took up until like November, December. So like 6 to 8 months. And that's when I really started to feel like, okay, there really is something here. That was when I first realized like, oh, people that I don't know are following and reading it. It's not just like my Instagram followers and my mom and aunt and like cousin that are reading it. It's people that I've never met before who don't know me. And that was a big shift. So yeah, that probably was like end of 2020. And then 2021 was like full on growth phase, me just being kind of obsessive about it and like getting less and less interested in my full-time job as I started to realize like, oh, funny, this is how it feels to be super engaged in what you're doing and to feel like you're getting really good ROI on your time and energy. So by end of 2021, I was like, 2022 is the year. Like I can't do both anymore because honestly, I'm like morphing into a shitty employee because I don't care about what I'm doing at work anymore. So that's how we ended up here.
I resonate so much with every single thing that you're saying. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there, and I feel over the last 5 to 10 years, there is more opportunity to make money doing the things that you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. And it's tapping into that market. My first question to you is, you talk a lot about how you started monetizing. I think there's a lot of people who are like, great, I start writing a blog, but how you picked up steam fast. Are there pieces of advice that you would give for people who are thinking about starting a blog or any other business venture that they're going down that you feel really helped you excel to where you are today?
Yeah, a few things. The first would be the niche that I picked, which I think was just kind of lucky that the thing that I was just innately interested in was a subject matter area online that had not yet been like flooded with people. And that's not to say that you can't do something that a lot of other people are doing. And now there are a lot of personal finance content creators, but in 2020, it was kind of like old guard. Like the financial independence, like retire early movement was mostly like middle-aged white guys. And like that, there's nothing wrong with that. I still listen to a lot of middle-aged white guys, but as far as like people that looked like you and me, there really weren't any. And so I do feel fortunate in that respect that the niche that I chose was kind of undersaturated. So I think that being cognizant of just kind of the landscape that you're trying to enter into, it's like, do I see, if you want to be like a wellness or like beauty fashion influencer or blogger, you're going to see a lot of people that already look like you and me in that space. And that doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's just harder to break through in that way because it's noisier. So I think that's part of it. I also think that the other kind of like tailwind that I had is that because there were fewer young female people writing about this stuff and talking about it online, and because the financial industry has so much money to spend on advertising, I think I had a much easier time getting sponsors with 5,000 followers than if I were trying to sell workout clothes, because there are so many female young influencers that look just like me that are fitness influencers that have 200,000 followers. So why the hell would a fitness company sponsor me with 5,000? You know what I mean? So I think that was also part of it, that like the financial services industry is like willing to spend money on that kind of stuff. So I think that was also something that I would point to, is like, just be aware of, when you're choosing the niche or the group that you want to talk to or what you want to talk about, that like primarily how you make money as a blogger in earnest is sponsorships. And so you want to make sure that you kind of have some brands on the horizon that you would like to work with, that you could see yourself pitching and that you could see, meaningfully interacting with you and seeing value in you. But I would say that it's a kind of a fine line, because while I'm a big fan of monetizing content and monetizing your hobbies and finding ways to make money doing what you love, I think you almost have to first focus on just creating and delivering value. Like I first learned that from Lauren Everett, who runs Skinny Confidential. I remember hearing her say it on a podcast forever ago, where she was like, if you're worried about monetizing on like day 3, like you're not going to make it, because you can't be that focused on the money. You have to be obsessed with what you're talking about. You have to be obsessed with providing value. And like, if you provide great content, you will build an audience. And then once you have an audience, then brands will want to sponsor you, because now you have people that care and listen to what you have to say and trust you. But anyway, that's something that I always think is worth kind of stating explicitly. Like you want to make sure that you're focused on the right things in the beginning. And oftentimes in the beginning, the right thing is just honing your voice, getting your like being consistent with how much you're creating and when you're putting it out there, and just showing up. Like, even if it's 200 people that are following the Instagram account that you're posting the stuff on, or, this is my Money with Katie Instagram account. It has 200 followers. And like, here's today's blog post. It's like 10 people might read it, but like, as long as 15 read it the next time, that's growth.